My fellow Homo sapiens, you've heard it a million times, many ways. Merry Christmas, wrong song. So I will try to keep this concise, especially since some of my videos for August have been 18 to 20 minutes of just my talking head. So we'll keep this un poco. In other words, I better get to the point, right? Quote, book. Way out of the way. I was well set up for this. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. It is not what happens to you, it is how you react to it that matters. By and large, this is absolutely true. I mean, across the board, actually, it's absolutely true. Some things, there will be a trigger warning on this video. Terminal diagnoses, the loss of a loved one, have a positive attitude and cope as best as possible that you can, non-destructive, non-detrimental ways. Don't spiral down a dark hole that you can't escape from. Don't compound your problems and your suffering by negative coping strategies and negative reactions, even to the worst of the worst of the worst in life. But by and large, this is another one that's similar to the do good, get good. Do bad, feel bad. That's my religion quote. That is pretty self-explanatory. Oftentimes we get trapped in a story of being victims of our circumstances, being victims of our past, being victims, just being on the receiving end, and having no agency, no power, no control, being helpless and hopeless, because it's bad enough to deal with circumstances and situations that you don't like or that are painful or difficult to deal with. It's worse, monumentally worse, when those situations are also leaving you feeling helpless. Because when you feel helpless to change the thing that you can't, your coping skills are stretched too thin to handle, and you feel powerless to change it, that leads you to feeling helpless. And when we feel helpless, we feel hopeless. When we feel helpless and hopeless, that is when we may experience what is known as the dark night of the soul, when you actually contemplate cutting out of this plane of existence. I don't know if you can hear that garbage truck outside. I'm actually inside, but it's still traffic. So far in this video, I have dealt with a loud garbage truck and reading the quote wrong. And I just let it roll off. In my real life, I have had a traumatic past. If you watch my mental illness origin story, I don't get too in-depth into my personal traumas, but I have a past, and I have experienced lengthy psychotic episodes and all that came with that, and I have a litany of medical illnesses that I contend with. My circumstances sometimes are not ideal, frequently are not ideal. But you have to accept the things we cannot change the things we can, and have the wisdom to know the difference. If it's changeable, do something about it. If you're not ready to do something about it, don't beat yourself up for not doing something about it. Don't do the thing that you're not ready to change. Continue to go to a job that you hate. Stay in a relationship that you know ended a long time ago, but you're just familiar and you've invested so much time. But you know it's not working. And it can't work. Continue smoking or other bad habits that you have that you know you need to change. If you can change it, change it. If you're not in a place yet where you are ready to make that leap, stop beating yourself up for not making that leap, not changing the thing that is within your control to change. Because twofold here, just like the quote said, it's not what happens to us, even what we do, it's how we react to it. You're going to compound. You've got this habit, this thing, this situation that is not quite tenable, not enjoyable, negative, and you wish it weren't there, but you're not ready to address it yourself quite yet. You're just not there yet. You're already living through that experience. Beating yourself up as a reaction, ruminating on the situation that you're not at a point where you can address, stewing on it, playing it again and again and again in your head, focusing on it, beating yourself up. All of those are possible choices in the way that you can react, but all they do is hyper-focus. Means you miss all the good things in your life, all the good moments in your life, because you're focused on the negative, and you see what you focus on. What you focus on, what you ruminate on, amplifies. So a bad situation will seem catastrophic, and beating yourself up just causes guilt and shame. It's not an empowering position to ever evoke that change that you want. If you are coming from a place of guilt and shame and helplessness and hopelessness, it's like somebody who's trying to quit an addiction. Last thing they need to do is bash themselves, shame themselves too hard if they have a short relapse, because it's been scientifically proven that negative feelings of shame and guilt also trigger reward systems in our brain, which seems to be counterintuitive but makes perfect sense. That when we are in pain, psychological, emotional pain, that's the reward center is lighting up because it's wanting comfort. It's demanding comfort, relief from the feelings of shame. That's why, like, if you were on a diet and you overdid it by a cookie, you had a cookie, God forbid you eat a cookie. To each their own. I had ice cream 2 days in a row, yesterday and the day before. It was delicious. And you go a cookie over, and then you feel such guilt and such shame that you eat an entire cake, an entire tub of ice cream, and really the cookie would be not inconsequential in the larger scheme of your health and well-being. But because you feel failure, you identify yourself as a failure, no good, never going to do it right, blah, 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 blah. You felt guilt and shame. And that hit the reward center in your brain, started craving solution, and hence you amplify the problem by either returning to your addiction because you feel shame or guilt, or some other negative coping mechanisms to calm the shame and guilt that you feel. So accept it for what it is. Realize there are people in better and people in worser positions than you. Don't be so hyper-focused on the problems that you miss the good. Don't be so hyper-focused on the problems that you ruminate, missing your life, ruminating, adding extra stress, and amplifying the problem, potentially to the point of catastrophizing it. And don't beat yourself up if you're not quite ready to change, because all it does is add more of a drive toward that thing that you're trying to get rid of. It actually draws you closer to that dead relationship, to that dead job, seeking the security and the safety of the familiar, soothing through substances or bad coping mechanisms, that sense of shame and guilt that you're evoking in yourself. So stop beating yourself up. Accept yourself for not being at a place where you're able to change it yet. That is a much healthier reaction. If you're facing an illness, such as me, the better your attitude toward it, the more you will attempt to take care of yourself. If you're diagnosed diabetic, the more you'll watch your food intake and your exercise and your blood pressure and your stress and your sleep and all the things that are going to be helpful to make you healthy and well as possible. If you have a negative mindset to it, you will be feeling far more negative than if you're accepting of reality as it is. If you're feeling woe is me and wallow or stuck in that place too long, you're not being proactive. You're not in a position to be proactive, and you're actually putting yourself in a position to feel more low. And as I mentioned, the more low we feel, the more that reward center in our brain lights up for immediate gratification, for easing the discomfort that we are feeling, which leaves you more prone to do negative behaviors like not move, binge watch TV, not get the exercise that you need, not eat the right kind of food that's good for your diabetes, etc. So you're more apt to take better care of yourself overall in general. You're more apt to be proactive about your physical illness if you have a negative diagnosis. Whatever the situation, it's not what happens to us. It is. It is. But it matters more the meaning we assign to it, where we put our attention, how we internalize it, and what we do in response to it. That is going to affect the quality of your mental health, the health of your mind, body, spirit, life, social life, success or failure. The quality of your life is congruent with the quality of your reaction. It's already 13 minutes, and I said I would keep it short and sweet, and I'm failing at that. So we're going to call it good. Love you guys. Good morning. Goodbye. Have a good day.